And this just in, the 26-year-old Postal Service mail carrier has been arrested accused of dumping mail, which included election ballots, into a dumpster. Investigators say that Nicholas Beauchesne of Kearney, New Jersey, threw out more than 1,800 pieces of mail, which included 99 general election ballots intended to be delivered to residents along his routes in Orange and West Orange. The Postal Service says that mail has since been delivered. Beauchesne will be arraigned this afternoon and faces 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine if convicted. Happening today.
Tonight, 2 local mail carriers are facing federal charges accused of failing to deliver mail and instead tossing it in the trash. Prosecutors say they found at least 1 mail-in ballot application among the discarded items and dozens of political mailings. Good evening, I'm Ken Rice. One of the mail carriers was caught on camera tossing mail in the trash. The other's charged with putting mail out with the trash for his neighborhood's weekly pickup. Andy Sheehan's been following the story all week and has this update tonight.
The U.S. Attorney's Office says incriminating evidence, both this video surveillance and mountains of garbage bags left on the curb, pointed to 2 postal carriers suspected of trashing the mail. Now both men face federal charges of destruction or delay of the mail by a postal employee, a felony which could land each in prison for 5 years.
I don't know what's going on over there, but whatever it is, if that's what happened, that's a shame.
We first told you how special agents from the Postal Service Office of Inspector General descended on this house in Baldwin. It's owned by 48-year-old mail carrier Sean Troche, where they found 9 garbage bags filled with undelivered mail. According to the criminal complaint, quote, although Troche initially reported that only 1 of the single bags contained the mail, he ultimately acknowledged that all of the trash bags did and told investigators to take them. Troche told investigators that the mail had been intended for delivery on his route and acknowledged it was wrong to throw mail in the trash.
We started finding mail in the recycle bin, and then the last couple drops we found in the trash can.
In a second and separate case, a surveillance camera caught 29-year-old carrier James McLanigan, apparently dumping mail in the trash outside PERSED LGBTQ+ health services in Lawrenceville. PERSED operations coordinator Tony Kuhar recovered all of that mail, and now the feds say all of this mail and the mail recovered in Baldwin has now been delivered.
Just didn't want to finish the route, it seems, you know, because it was all addresses within a few blocks of here.
Although there was only 1 ballot application found in the trash, U.S. Attorney Scott Brady says during this election, trust in the Postal Service is more important than ever, and that employees who violate that trust can expect, quote, quick, effective action against them. Reporting at the Northside Sorting Facility, Andy Sheehan, KDKA News.
I want to tell you about an investigation that's underway into alleged voter fraud in DuPage County, with several suspected cases having been caught by the county clerk's office.
WGN's Brona Tumulty is joining us now with more details. Brona.
That's right. 9 cases in total are or have been under investigation, and those involved applications being sent in for mail-in ballots, except the people requesting them had already passed away.
The clerk's office looks at all of these applications. They were the ones who discovered that there was a problem and immediately turned them over to my office for investigation.
DuPage County prosecutors are actively looking into 3 possible cases of voter fraud, with an additional 6 having already been investigated.
We determined that we didn't have sufficient evidence to bring criminal charges.
All 9 cases were discovered last month.
Were detected between the period of September 1st and September 26th.
And in each of them, State's Attorney Bob Berlin says the county clerk's office received a request for a mail-in ballot from a resident who's no longer alive.
It was determined they were deceased before the application was sent in the U.S. mail. And the clerk looks at the name that's on the application for the vote by mail ballot, and they check it against the voter rolls. And they have all the databases, so they were able to make that determination.
We're told a lot of mail-in ballots were requested this year. In fact, more than 206,000 of them have been distributed county-wide.
We're seeing a huge increase in vote by mail applications and ballots.
So, while 9 suspect cases may not seem like a lot in the grand scheme of things, the consequences could be serious for whomever is involved.
If somebody signs somebody else's name to an application, that would be a forgery. It's a Class 3 felony, punishable by 2 to 5 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections.
And Berlin wants the public to know the integrity of the election is of the utmost importance.
Whether you vote by mail, whether you vote early, or whether you vote on Election Day, the process is fair. We have built-in integrity into our election process, and every vote is going to count.
Now, there's no time frame on when the investigation of the 3 current cases might be wrapped up. And of the more than 206,000 mail-in ballots requested, over 107,000 have already been returned. And since early voting opened on Monday of this week, we're told almost 65,000 people have cast their vote early. So overall, more than a quarter of registered voters in DuPage County have already decided who they want to see in the White House next year. Live in the newsroom, Bronagh Tumulty, WGN News.
The man I spoke with today has a reason for taking out the trash. It's his job. But he also believes you should be sending your ballots in or taking them in person, which is the exact opposite thing that elections officials want you to do. They'd like you to drop them off or put them in the mail.
It has nothing to do with political. I want a fair election.
Charles West didn't feel like things were fair when he says he found Utah voter ballots in a dumpster Thursday morning.
I dumped a can today, and I'm finding ballots in the garbage can. Pardon my French, it's just mad.
Charles has been working in waste collection for 5 years. The ballots he found in Sandy were a first.
No joke, look. That's what I was able to find that fell out of the garbage can. It was an 8-yard can. I don't know if you guys understand what that is. That's a pretty big can.
There are plenty of reasons why the ballots could have been found that way, from theories of them being stolen from mailboxes and dumped to being spoiled addresses that were incorrectly put into circulation. Either way, it is a little odd to find ballots spewing out of a dumpster.
I think it's very important that we have a secure vote and people's information isn't compromised. I mean, this opens these people up to fraud. It opens up to everything. I'd be terrified if my name was on that ballot.
The state of Utah is no stranger to mail-in voting, which has been in the works for nearly a decade. So if your ballot gets in the wrong hands, there's a way to know.
We verify against the signature to make sure no one's voting that shouldn't vote. So there are some hiccups sometimes, and we'd like to hear those reported so we can fix those and work with the county clerk.
With the ongoing pandemic, county clerks across the state are stressing the importance of not showing up at a polling station to vote this year.
They can put it through the mail. They can also put it directly in a drop box that gets to the county clerk. Now, if someone really wants to go to a polling location and drop off their ballot, that's also fine. They can do that, but we don't want people congregating, especially with these spikes we have in COVID, at polling locations. We don't want that to be a super spreader kind of event.
Charles developed a recent interest in politics and has a defined political affiliation, but he says this isn't about one side of the aisle versus the other. He just wants everyone's vote to be counted.
I'm just a patriot. I'm American. I'm all about America, and I just want a fair election.
We reached out to those with their names on those ballots that were found in the dumpster. We didn't hear back from them. We also reached out to the U.S. Postal Service. You'll hear their reply coming up tonight on Fox 13 News Live at 5. Now, if you're one of those people waiting by the mailbox, anxiously waiting to get your ballot, if you haven't gotten it in a few more days, that's the best time to reach out to your individual county clerk's office. We're live in Salt Lake City tonight. Brian Schnee, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Meanwhile, the state election board is asking Georgia's attorney general to look into 98 outstanding cases of voter fraud. Some date far as back as 2014. Others involved the 2016 presidential election. The Secretary of State's office says the claim includes that people knowingly casting a second ballot or submitting absentee ballots on behalf of adult children who are felons. These are in addition to double voting incidents mentioned by Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger earlier this week. He says about 150,000 people who requested absentee ballots for this year's primary or runoff elections later decided to vote in person. Out of that number, about 1,000 people voted both ways. The report now is spread across 100 Georgia counties. Secretary of State Raffensperger emphasized anyone found guilty of gaming the system will be prosecuted. But he said the cases of alleged double voting did not change any race results.